This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the LG Quantum Windows 7 phone on AT&T. Now this is the fourth Windows 7 phone that we've looked at. This is the third that's available on AT&T, along with the Samsung Focus, the HTC Surround. We have the LG Quantum, and we also looked at the HD7 on T-Mobile, and these are the ones that are offered by U.S. carriers. Of the phones directly offered by U.S. carriers, and we don't include the Dell Venue Pro, which isn't yet available and is not offered at T-Mobile stores, so it will be working on the T-Mobile network, this is the only one that has a hardware keyboard. So for you folks, and you know who you are, who absolutely love to text using a hardware keyboard, this is the one and only one for you if you can adapt to a touchscreen. Now as keyboards go, this isn't too bad. It's a 4-row keyboard. You've got an embedded number pad up here. Spacebar pretty much where it belongs. Most keys are where they belong. You've got an FN key and a shift lock key here. The keys are large, it's plenty roomy, but they are very flat, as you can see. So it's not a deluxe typing experience, but it's not too bad. These are pretty plasticky and slippery as well, so you're going to want to wipe your hands off before you type. Taking a look around the phone, all the other Windows Phone 7 devices have full capacitive keys across here. LG does things a little bit differently, and they've got a hardware Windows Home button right here versus capacitive button. These are touch-sensitive capacitive buttons for back and search. And again, buttons are standardized on Windows 7 phones, so you'll find the same buttons on all devices. Camera button, also a requirement for the platform, is here. These are your volume rockers. And you can see that this is very flush, so it's not exactly the easiest thing to control when you're trying to squeeze the phone. Up here we have the power button, where a power button belongs, 3.5mm stereo jack. And on this side we have the micro USB port under a door. The phone has a pleasingly slightly rubbery feel. This is one of the easiest phones to keep in hand without dropping, and that we like. Of course it's a bit heavier because it has the slider mechanism in the keyboard. Back here, this is a metal door that pries off for access to the internals. This has 16 gigs of storage. It's not expandable with micro SD card slot, which is typical of Windows phones except for the Samsung Focus. The back of the phone, you can see the battery cover pries off here. It's a pretty stiffly attached battery cover. And underneath you see the SIM card, and then the battery takes up most of the space over here. It's 1500 milliamps, and battery life on this compared to other Windows 7 phones is about average. If you use the phone moderately, you'll probably need to charge it every day and a half or so. Now if we compare this to the Surround, also on AT&T, another phone that has a slider, but for the speaker bar rather than a keyboard, you can see they're roughly the same size, but the Surround has a 3.8-inch display, and we'd say that 3.8-inch and up is really better for Windows Phone 7 because the on-screen keyboard is a bit awkward to use on this. Granted, you do have the hardware keyboard, but we still prefer having larger targets to touch. The HTC looks a little bit more high-class, shall we say, while the LG looks a bit more like a messaging phone. The HTC has that usual nice high-end build quality kind of look to it. Though we do appreciate the metal back on the back of the LG. Now I'll compare it to the Samsung Focus, which happens to be my favorite Windows phone that's available on AT&T, because this has a 4-inch Super AMOLED display. Both of these are set to maximum brightness right now, but you can see the color saturation, vibrance, and brightness are still higher on the Focus. Since this is a 4-inch display, the Focus is, of course, slightly larger in its footprint, though of course it's thinner because it has no sliding mechanism whatsoever. Samsung is 100% plastic. Doesn't try to hide that. It's gloss plastics that are attractive, but it is indeed plastic. And lastly, we're comparing the LG Quantum to the HTC HD7 on T-Mobile, which has a 4.3-inch display. The screen technology is not so great on this, so it's not terribly bright or vibrant on the HD7, but still you do get that monster display and really elegant, slim build. Now we're taking a closer look at the display here. Again, this is a 3.5-inch capacitive display, standard LCD. Pinch zooming, that's standard for Windows Phone 7. And we're going to compare what you can see on screen versus that and the Focus. So here's the view on the Focus. And it's hard to see on video, but text is not quite as sharp on this, even though this is really running at a higher pixel density because they're both the same resolution, 800 by 480. But this one's squeezed into 3.5 inch versus 4 inches. But text is easier to read on this. This does have a warmer tone than either the HTC Surround or the Samsung Focus, which is a little bit friendlier to the eyes, a little bit less tiring, but screen sharpness is passable. It's okay. It's not terrible or anything like that, but it's not quite as good as the other phones. In terms of speed is about the same on all of these phones since they all run on a 1 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon CPU with GPU acceleration. Has 512 megs of RAM, again 16 gigs of storage. 5 megapixel camera is a pretty good camera on this, shoots 720p video. Has of course Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and a GPS. We're not going to go into all the Windows 7 phone features. Here we have videos dedicated just to those features. Here we're just going to cover the hardware on the phone. So you can see scrolling speed is just fine on your live tiles. And they all update depending on context, how many messages I've got here, marketplace updates, all that kind of thing. Plays games just fine. GPS works quite well. So here we are in AT&T Navigator, which looks the same on all of AT&T's Windows 7 phones. And you've got your option to drive to, search, maps and traffic, tools and extra. So if you do maps and traffic, it starts out with your location here. This is downloading map over AT&T's 3G connection. This is 3G HSDPA 7.2 megabit per second. So the speed is reasonably good. You can pinch and zoom in it. You can get traffic information, find my location, do a search, and more. POI database on this is pretty good. You can search all categories, coffee, food, gas station, all that kind of thing, and you can input. Now notice that some things work in landscape mode like this, so it's easy to actually use the on-screen keyboard or the hardware keyboard, but in some other places like the web browser, the controls actually only work in portrait mode. So you actually have to, in portrait mode, bring up the URL bar first and then deploy the keyboard to enter a URL. Of course, there's no problem if you want to enter text in any kind of on-screen form when in the web browser. In terms of extras on this, Microsoft limits the amount that the manufacturer and carrier can put on the phone, particularly the carriers can't muck up too much. So we don't have a lot of AT&T junk on here, which is a good thing. We do have, obviously, AT&T Navigator powered by Telenav. That's a useful application. AT&T Family Map, My Wireless for managing your account, Navigator as we mentioned. AT&T Radio, which is mostly streaming radio, often from some free sources, so we're not sure why you'd want to pay a monthly fee to use that. And AT&T's Uverse Mobile, which is kind of cool streaming TV programming, which also costs about $10 a month. In terms of LG special software on here, not too much. We've got the DLNA client for streaming over your home wireless network. The rest of the apps are standard. You get Office Mobile 2010 on the phone, IE. The marketplace for downloading applications, Xbox Live for playing your games and downloading games. Messaging client, full email client that supports Exchange, POP3, and IMAP email, as well as Gmail. Alarm clock, calculator, calendar, standard Windows 7 phone calendar here, very nice. You can switch to your month view. And of course, we have the People Hub. It starts out with people in my contacts, and then if I had Facebook set up, as it's prompting me to do here, I could see all my Facebook friends and read their most recent status updates. Twitter is not built into Windows Phone 7 at this point, but you can download a dedicated Twitter client. Since Windows Phone 7 only allows multitasking of the built-in applications, however, Twitter gets backgrounded, so you're not going to get timely updates of Twitter unless you actually have it up and running in the foreground. And of course, since this is the Zune phone, it has the Zune client built in as well, so you can use Zune software to load content onto here, music and videos and the like. You can also just burn your own CDs and load it up via Zune, and you can access the Zune marketplace here to get music and videos from the service, including their subscription service. So that's the LG Quantum Windows 7 phone, available now on AT&T for $199 with contract. And I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website for the full review.